Hey, I'm Melanie.
And I'm Kristen.
We're filmmakers, friends, and collaborators from Vancouver, Canada.
And after 10 years in development,
we're finally getting to make our feature film
called Switchback.
And we want to take you along with us
through all the ups and downs,
lessons we learn,
and mistakes we make
on the journey to making this film.
Hi everyone, I'm Kristen. My pronouns are she, her.
I'm Melanie. My pronouns are they, them. And welcome back.
And in this video today, we're going to be talking about finding the right collaborator. So we are going to talk about how we started working together and what we value in our creative collaboration.
So I feel like it's fun to think back on this and think about how we met, because I think we were sort of like in each other's orbit within the local industry. Our industry here in Vancouver is actually really close-knit. It's very easy to run into the same people at every event, and that's kind of what we were doing, was just like seeing each other at parties, seeing each other at screenings, and we knew each other existed, but we hadn't really like worked together or even had like a long conversation even until we decided to collaborate on something.
That's true. I actually did know I had seen Mel's first feature on the festival circuit, met them at some networking events. I actually remember once saying to you, I think we should work together on something, and you were what at the time I felt was a little dismissive. But knowing you now, I know that it's just that you social environments, you never are sure what people actually are serious about or not. But I had been admiring your work. So when Melanie got the green light to go ahead and make the short film Shuttlecock, which is a badminton comedy.
Yes, we call it our punk rock badminton comedy. It's on YouTube right now if you want to check it out. You can just search for it.
We'll link it in the description. And you got Crazy 8's top 6 projects for Crazy 8's to make Shuttlecock.
Yes.
And I wanted to produce something. I had worked for Crazy 8's in the past, but for the organization, and I really wanted to produce a specific film. And I felt like I was trying to convince you. I was like, please, team, let me come on board, let me produce. And do you remember anything about that?
I do, because the sort of, to back up, like the inception of the project was, I had an actor friend that I specifically wrote the story for. I wrote this role for. I pitched it to her. I was like, what do you think about this badminton movie? And she was on board. And so we were kind of a team already going into the pitch and into the project. And then once we got top 6, which for anybody who isn't familiar with Crazy 8's, it's a pitching competition that has many rounds. So it starts out with like an unlimited number of video pitches, then they select for live pitches, then they select for scripts, and then they select for making the film. And so we had made it to that last stage. And then we were looking at each other going like, we really need some producers on this project, because you're going to be acting and I'm going to be directing. Like, we need to find strong collaborators for this piece. And I know we had heard of you, and we had heard of we did a lot of interviews during that time. I think we interviewed you around here near your house.
In my neighborhood. And I remember I was wearing a ugly Christmas sweater because it was my office Christmas party that day. So I showed up wearing this like very funny, really ugly Christmas sweater for the interview.
Yes.
But I feel like it went really well. I feel like I immediately understood the tone and the intention of the film, and it was a natural fit to come on board.
And the thing about Shuttlecock is that it is really like ruckus comedy. Like, it's meant to be sort of a bit vulgar and a bit edgy. So we really needed people who were like gonna be cool with that, but also gonna like really dive into promoting the film. And one of our little slogans that we used to do every time we would talk about the film is we would say, when I say shuttle, you say cock. And we would do this as a group, Rona, myself, Eli, and Kristen, our team.
Shuttlecock?
Shuttlecock. Shuttlecock.
Would stand on stages and yell this out to audiences. And so you needed to have people who were like down for that kind of, shenanigans. And I feel like that was like evident from the very beginning, that you were like, I'm 100% in for this. Oh, yeah. This is going to be a fun ride.
We had a lot of fun making the film. And that is a feat, I think, because Crazy 8's in itself, you only have 8 days obviously 6 teams, 8 days to make your film. And so you shoot for 3 and post for 5. And it can get really intense and really high pressure. But the kind of relationship we had built and the nature of the film, I think, just allowed us to have so much fun on set.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a really interesting experience. Like, I'll just say this for me. I had always produced my other projects. Like, every short, I had made like over a dozen shorts. Every project I made, I was a producer on, because I hadn't yet found my like sort of forever collaborator. I had worked with different producers, good and bad relationships, you know, that's the way it is in filmmaking. You find, you know, who you work best with. And I just hadn't found that yet. I hadn't found that person yet. And so I was still maintaining this like producer control piece. And Shuttlecock was the first time that I let go and was like, I'm just gonna write and direct it this time, and I'm gonna trust my team. And it, you know, wonderfully, here we are, whatever, 7-8 years later, and we are still collaborating because that was absolutely the right decision. And it also allowed me to be very ambitious as a director, which was something I was really actually trying to do with that film. I had already made a feature, so coming back to a short after the complexity of a feature, I was like, oh, we can do this and this and this and this, and wasn't, that wasn't daunting to me, but I knew that I had to like have a team that could, you know, sort of support me in that ambition. And we shot a lot of things with 2 cameras, where I was like, had 2 monitors and was sort of directing 2 scenes at once. It was the only way that we could have done the film because it was very ambitious. There were a lot of characters, there were a lot of scenes. We had this sort of mockumentary like within the film, so we had to have this other footage and a B-cam. And then we also had all kinds of fun things that Crazy 8s allows you to do, which is like get special gear and that kind of stuff. I feel like when I think back to the time of shooting it, it was such a whirlwind, but I felt like we were always pretty in control.
I remember that you definitely had a hesitation about letting go of that control and the producer side of things.
Yes.
And that trust building that happened at that time is really the foundation of our creative collaboration now. It's like knowing, getting to know each other and our process, but trusting that, you know, we're always going to put our relationship in the team, like the greater mission, I guess, to the forefront. Yeah.
And we have different like skill sets, we have different strengths, and I feel like we balance really well. Like, we've talked about this many times, about, you know, sort of like what I need from a producer, like as a director, is like, Kristen is so suited to me. I mean, this is why it takes forever to find your collaborators, right? Because you have to find the person, not just that can do a good job producing, but that can actually complement your needs and your style and the way that you like to work. And I think, you know, if I think about the trust stuff, like, I appreciate that you were willing to be like, I understand that there's trust here and trust, you know, issues here, and I need to like reassure Melanie that, you know, it's all going to be okay, because you could see that that's what I kind of needed from a collaborator. And then that actually built the trust, right? Was just being able to know that you understood where my hesitations were.
And I feel like we are really good at building off of each other. And that came with time and learning how we do work and how we write and communicate and express ideas. But often when we, you know, we work on stuff where we volley it back and forth, and I'm inspired when you send me something, even if I want to expand on it or change it, like that process of each of us kind of building on top of it, I think really has strengthened and is fun and is that type of collaboration I'm looking for.
And I feel like, I mean, I can't speak to other people's collaborative teams, but I feel like the fun piece is like absolutely critical if you do want to have a long-standing relationship, multiple projects together kind of relationship. Like, you need, it can't just be like, oh yeah, you're a good business person, but like, no, like, we're actually friends too, you know, on top of being collaborators. And it's kind of interesting because we kind of became friends while working together, which is a little bit different, I think, than working with your friends, like being friends for a long time and then trying to make a film together. Like, maybe that won't work because the professional side is not as like dialed in. But I feel like for us, it was like a perfectly in tandem kind of experience, which was great.
Exactly. Yeah, so we've had a really successful multi-year creative collaboration working through a few different projects together. And I guess we're curious, audience, what do you look for in a creative collaborator, and what's important to you in a working relationship?
Yeah, whether you're a director, a writer, a producer, like what are the things, we really want to hear this because we want to be able to build off of that information and provide interesting, feedback and tidbits for you about our experiences. We're going to be talking about our experiences on our features, and so maybe we can speak to some of your thoughts or your ideas. Thanks everybody, we'll see you in the next video.